Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm one of those people that I like to wipe the slate and start fresh. So especially a new season comes up, we're heading into the fall. It's kind of a fresh feeling. You got a fresh start, clean slate. I think it also comes to your health as well. And I always hear the word detox. Detox. To me, that means a clean out, a freshening of yourself and moving forward. What does that mean with detox? It can be very beneficial. And we're going to look at that from a holistic standpoint today with somebody who is a master herbalist, and she's back with us. Amy Willis is on the phone. She's on the phone and she's on the video too. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. It's good to be back again.
Detox. I hear this term and more lately. And obviously, when you hear that word, you have an idea what it means, but not exactly when we talk about detox. So why don't we start fresh? When we're talking about detox from a herbal standpoint, what do we mean?
So there's basically, you can divide the detox into two different categories. Okay. One is where you activate the body to stimulate the organs that cleanse the body. So that's going to be the skin, the bowels, the kidneys, the liver. Okay, those, and then the lungs also are considered a detoxing or a cleansing organ. So you're going to activate those to stimulate them so that they cleanse out the body. Most of the time, it's really the bowels that are worked on the most, okay, and the liver. Okay, so that's one kind, and there's a lot of products out there that are sold for that very thing, detox and then bowel cleansing. So even with my clients, when I talk about detoxing, they say, well, am I going to have to stay home, because I have to use a bathroom all the time? And so that's the concept, the idea that we have. Okay, so that's one kind. I don't use that kind very often. Okay, now the other is where we directly get rid of the pathogens. So this is what I've talked about earlier in a different podcast. There's, from a biochemical perspective, okay, which is just 1/3 of the different types of total health. So from that perspective, there's 5 main things that are the root cause. Okay, so this is good for everyone to know: viruses, bacteria, parasite, yeast, toxins, and heavy metals. So those are like the root cause of a lot of what's going on. So when I talk about detox, I talk about getting rid of those, killing them, eliminating them, whatever we need to do to get rid of those. That's the type of detox.
Let's start with the colon.
Okay.
I hear, I think I'm detox. For me, that's maybe a starting point. Maybe that's what I've heard, been exposed to, but I've also heard that the colon can, your whole digestive system can hold a lot of material that is just sitting in there, and you're not getting rid of it. How impactful is that to do a detox on that level?
Right. So an interesting fact is that both John Wayne and Elvis Presley are said to have like 20 pounds of old fecal matter. When they died, they had 20 pounds of old fecal matter in their system. Okay, so you got to think of that. Okay, think of a 20-pound bag of potatoes. Okay, so having that in your body, carrying that around, that is not healthy at all. That's definitely going to cause a problem. So, I'm glad you mentioned bowels, because yes, we do want to eliminate the old material, the old fecal matter out of the bowels, and we do that as well as dealing with the pathogens. So, there's a lot of different herbs. Now, you don't want to, sometimes what's necessary is to just get it moving. So you use the more purgatives. Okay, so purgatives are stronger than laxatives. Okay, So you use that kind of level of, bowel stimulant herbs. Okay. So sienna would be one. Cascarada sagrada is another one, but that's not as strong. The sienna is more habit forming, so you don't want to stay on it long. But we have a formula that we use, kind of quick colon, and when people are really impacted, then we use that. Okay, but then
impacted is a great word. Impacted is a great word. I used that in the beginning, not even thinking about what we were talking about. Let's say, and yes, I heard that about Elvis, and just even thinking that we could even be walking around with 10 extra pounds that hasn't been purged, if you will. I just feel full right now. When you do a detox for that, and we're going to talk about the other detoxes in a second. All right, you flushed out, call it a clean start, like I said before. What happens past that? You're going to eat more. There's going to be, is it going to happen again? Or is this, as soon as you do that detox, you make those changes in terms of your diet, and maybe you have less that you're holding on to?
Right. That's some good thoughts there, because in actuality, what is happening in our body is, okay, so now I want to say diarrhea is actually advanced constipation. Okay, that's an interesting thought. But so yes, okay, yes.
Explain that. Explain that.
Right. I am. So what happens is, as we accumulate things and we get more impacted, so the sides of the colon get more on them. Okay, and it gets hard and crusty and all of this. Okay, so then now I'm not saying all diarrhea is advanced constipation, because there's like flus and viruses and things like that. But when it's like a chronic condition, and when there's been a lot of constipation ahead of time, then a person will progress to where they have diarrhea. So what that is when there's so much impact on the side of the colon that everything just runs through. The body doesn't even absorb. So what naturally happens when we clean that up, and we clean all that garbage out, then the body can absorb the nutrients of the food that it's eating. Okay. And so a person will eat less. Because a lot of people, they eat and eat and eat, and they still are hungry. Okay. That's a sign, in a way, of there being too much fecal matter there, and the body's not able to absorb the nutrients.
Wow.
Okay.
And it makes perfect sense when you think about it, because if you have an issue, you're not getting the nutrients you need. So your brain is going to say, hey, give me more. We got to make up here. And all you're doing is just adding more into the 10-pound bag. Wow. Interesting thought.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to think of it as, okay, get some Elmer's glue. And if you put the Elmer's glue on a table top or whatever, you can still see the table through the glue once it dries. But there is that glue there. Okay. So that's what happens in our colon. Though it's not see-through for the most part. Wow.
Thinking of colon, fecal matter, and glue, not a pretty picture.
So one of the gluey substances of what we eat that really does stick is white flour. Okay. And cheese can be one. So my mom, in the olden days, she would just take white flour, and mix it with water. And that's what we used to put up wallpaper. That was the glue.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Remember that, even from TV. Wow. Okay. So I didn't plan on us focusing on this one area, but we'll get to the other detoxes in a moment. What are some of those things that can be troublesome? And I got you on the cheese. I've never had an issue with that. Now, when I have pizza, which, who doesn't love pizza? Sometimes I've got discomfort. Never had that before. Again, we get older, things change. But what are some of the other ones? Of course, we're talking about flour, and we know that, gluten is an issue gastrically for a lot of people. But what are some of the other things that can cause major issues within your lower digestive tract?
Okay, so, well, first I'd probably like to say that if a person does have a real serious issue there and they've had chronic constipation for a good while, they might just want to do a colonic and get it all flushed out. That would be the quickest way to handle it. But of course you can use herbs, but then that can take longer. After using a colonic, then having a really good clean diet, maybe incorporating some herbs so that the colon gets back into, the sink and parasitic movement happens. So digestive issues, yes. So, the digestive issues really aren't a detox problem per se, other than, okay, so why do we have we'd be going up higher, into the small intestine and the stomach and stuff. And if people are having problems with digestive issues, most of the time it's parasites or yeast. Okay. So that's why with my the detox that I recommend people to do, I always do those 5 things, and we address the parasites, we get rid of these pathogens. And then we'll also work on, if a person does have colon issues, constipation issues, then we will work on taking something to help move things out. Because when you're doing a detox, you definitely don't want to kill off pathogens and then just let them remain there.
Wow. Let's move to another area in terms of detox. That was the first one I would ever think of it with the word detox in terms of our body. But what else could we detoxify from?
Okay, so the actual pattern for detoxing is first you do the colon, so it's moving well. Okay. Second, then is you're going to do the liver, and then with some people, not everybody, you also do the kidneys. Okay, because those are important in cleaning out the blood. So the liver is very major in cleaning our blood, and it does a lot of work that it does in the body to balance us, including hormonal and stuff. So if the liver is congested or isn't working well, then definitely you're going to have problems throughout the body. Okay, so we want to clean out. All my clients always have them start on a liver detox. Usually some of the herbs like dandelion, that's good for the liver, is also good for the kidneys. So unless they have an underlying kidney problem, I don't really address the kidneys because they're getting the help they need anyway. Okay, so now the other thing that you want to consider with these 2 organs is that when a person has like skin condition, whether it's acne or eczema or something else, most of the time it's a kidney or liver problem. Okay, because the skin is that's called our 3rd kidney. It's called our 3rd kidney because the skin is a cleansing or eliminatory organ. Okay, and so when our body isn't functioning right, our liver's not functioning, kidneys aren't functioning, then the toxins will come out through the skin. So whenever we see that happening, we know that, okay, this person really needs to detox.
Wow. So you just look at somebody comes before you into your office, you just look at them and you can tell right away, essentially, we have a challenge, even looking at their skin.
Right. Yeah. So, there's different, because there's manifestation of disorder, okay, or dis-ease in the body. So yeah, there's certain things you can find, but then I'm continually learning because I'm a practitioner. So, you practice and you learn more as you go, which is a fun thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting if you know what you're looking for. And I'm sure that was a wake-up call for a lot of us, hearing that if you are dealing with skin issues, eczema, acne, or whatever it might be, that's a sign that you need to take a look at, your liver and kidney function. Is that basically for everybody?
Yes, it really is. I recommend everybody to do a liver cleanse once a year. And who does it? Our livers become very congested because we're exposed to so many toxins. but nobody's really thinking about, okay, it's spring. Spring is the time when the liver naturally detoxes. So spring is the best time to detoxify the liver. But if a person is already having problems, of course, we start right away. And then we do another one in spring, like myself. I keep myself healthy, but I still do a liver cleanse in the spring.
How do you do a liver cleanse?
Very simple, just 1 bottle of our liver tincture. So it's a 2-ounce bottle. That usually is about enough, unless the person has a chronic, some kind of serious problem going on. So you just take 2 droppers of this a day. It'll last about a week, a month to 6 weeks to go through this. And then, of course, through lots of testing, I've been able to find that it really works and brings the numbers up to where they need to be.
Well, how would you know that it's being effective? Is it a blood test?
People who want to do blood tests, they can do that. And then a lot of times my clients, they hire me, and for my opinion, they go to their doctor. And so they will have blood tests done or other kind of tests and see what's going on. And they do come back with excitement, their blood test was good or whatever other tests they're doing. So a person can do that. I don't know, it depends on the test, what they're looking for and such. I know I've had some clients that, they just do the liver tincture and they just like that. So they've done more than 1 bottle and they say, oh, this just makes me feel so much better. I really, so sometimes it's how a person feels too.
What about if your test results come back fine? You still need to do a detox. Is that true?
Because
Yeah.
Right. So we have to understand that doctors are trained to diagnose, treat, prevent diseases. Okay. So, before we get to have a disease, we're having different problems. Okay. We're, maybe our hair is falling out, or we're tired all the time, or we're not sleeping well. And we're moody and all this. And then we go to the doctor and find out, what's wrong with me, and then the doctor does all these different tests. And of course, in the back of the mind, he's thinking, oh, it could be a thyroid problem. He comes back and says, you're fine. Everything is normal. And you're like, this can't be normal. I feel miserable. Okay. Well, we have to interpret that in the right way. What he's actually saying is, you do not have a diagnosable disease. He's not saying you're healthy. Okay, so there's a big difference there between, okay, we don't have a disease and we're healthy. So, and that's where the muscle testing comes in, because we can find things way before they become a disease.
I look at it this way. Your liver, the test results come back fine. It's like a pair of shoes. Your shoes eventually get old and beat up. You can still walk in them. Doesn't mean they're going to work that great. And that seems, I look at it that way with the test results. Yeah, there's numbers that you're going to fall in terms of the parameters to be acceptably healthy, but that doesn't mean your liver is not working overtime, sweating, trying to get it done. The detox, after you do that detox, the tincture that you mentioned, will you notice a difference? In 6 weeks, 8 weeks, will you, feel any different?
Well, it depends on the person. It really does, how much issues they have, because, okay, a person can be totally, their body's doing totally well, but then they get migraines. Well, the focus of that person is going to be on their migraines, and they might be, their liver might be fine, other things might be fine, but they still feel terrible because they get migraines. If I'm trying to explain this, that unless the whole body is doing well, they're not necessarily going to feel like they're healthy or they're doing great. Okay. So, we can deal with the liver and take care of that, but there can be other things going on.
Now I'm getting a better picture of it, because just because your liver comes back with the right numbers doesn't mean you're all good. Same thing with the kidneys. And like most of us, unless you're 24, typically, you got stuff going on. Little things are popping up here. You wonder why this feels that way. And it could be all addressed back to some of those organs. Correct?
Right.
Wow. How about some of the other detoxes that you would recommend, Amy?
So after you do the liver, then a person, a lot of times that they're doing pretty good, but if you want to go to the next level, okay, then you start cleaning the blood. Okay. The blood is where the blood goes to the cells to take nutrients and to bring the waste away. So when you get to that level, you're really more advanced in really addressing issues. Okay, so we have so there are herbs that actually draw out toxins from the cells and clean the blood. So the reason you have to do it in this order is because the liver is the one that cleans the blood. So if your liver isn't working well, you can't just start cleaning out your blood, because then the liver is going to get more congested. So the liver has to be working well. Then you can start cleaning your blood. So we have this blood cleansing formula that is really excellent for that. It's herbs that actually do clean the blood out. Okay, now cancer is basically, okay, just basically comes from dirty blood. Okay. So if we clean the blood, we're going to avoid a whole bunch of problems. Okay. And that's the next level up, so, but if a person just does, cleaning the liver out, that's going to help a lot too, and avoiding, the hard, the cancers and the other things like that are really bad for you, that you want to avoid.
I'm looking at it this way. Is there any downside? For example, why wouldn't somebody just do detoxes? What do you got to lose? The investment in a bottle of this, a bottle of that. It's herbal, it's natural. What's the negative?
I can't really see any negative myself. I mean, who wouldn't want to have great health? Live to 100 without being on drugs.
This is what I'm talking about. And the same for the same reason why you might take a multivitamin every morning, or a supplement, take some extra iron, whatever it might be. You're being proactive to give yourself what your body should be getting. Maybe you're not getting it. I was taking vitamin D. Lab test showed I was massively deficient in it. Probably stress. That's my own summation on that. So got a prescription, took it, and I'm sure if I did a test, I'd be back up where I need to be. But for the same reason, why wouldn't you just do a detox? Like, unless it's going to interact with medications or side effects. What was the colon? All right, there's going to be a side effect, be prepared. Temporary, depending on the type of cleaning detox that you do. But short of that, I'm not seeing, why wouldn't you? I'm not seeing a reason why.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point there. But of course, like you mentioned, if a person is on a lot of medication and so forth, you got to be careful. But still, there's not very many people that can't do at least a certain degree of a detox, especially, getting the liver clean and making sure the bowels move. Those would be the basic I would recommend to just about everybody. It's making sure the bowels get cleaned out and the liver gets cleaned out and strengthened. Okay.
If you feel that you have fairly regular bowel movements, do you still need a detox?
Yes, because the other part of the detox, okay, or the other kind of detox that I mentioned, getting rid of the parasites, the yeast, the bacteria, the virus, the drug residues, or toxins, heavy metals, and things like that. You need to do that. You can't only do. So I usually do a little bit of a combination. So if they're having, like you said, they're pretty regular, I still do the other detoxing, those 5 root causes, because most people have lingering. So their immune system is working well. So they're not manifesting any kind of symptom like, fevers or, colds, flus, coughing. But their body still has residue bacteria, viruses, toxins, yeast, and so forth. So we want to address that, get rid of all of that. And then the body is now on another plane once we get rid of all of that.
Like vacuuming the floor.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. You know what? I have a vacuum cleanse.
What?
Yeah, that's the name. That's the name of my product. So this has bentonite clay and charcoal in it, and this is the one that we use to get rid of toxins and heavy metals. Now, this is an old time herbalist remedy that a lot of different herbalists use. I called mine vacuum cleanse, because it has that. It sucks it, basically sucks it out of the body. So it will actually draw out over 2,000 toxins and drug residues.
Wow. I didn't know you had that name for that product, but I just saw that you vacuum your floor, but you don't go underneath the couch and, furniture. And to me, that's kind of the colon situation or the bowel situation you're talking about, where, yeah, things are moving, but you're not moving everything out. And we're just about out of time. So one final question. You mentioned parasites, big buzzword now. Many of us have parasites, don't even realize it. With that colon cleanse, is it going to get rid of the parasites, or are they still going to be hanging on?
Right. This just works with the toxins and heavy metals. So we got to do the parasite formula. Okay. Anybody can do this on their own and just take it. Usually it's 2 droppers a day. And this way, I've had people just take that. It took a while, maybe a couple months, and they passed like a 10-inch worm. And then, throughout the time, it was a 2-week period. They probably passed like 6 of them, and of course, those are probably tapeworms, which are very hard to get. But this kills them. So then the body just eliminates. But there's been other types too that have been eliminated.
Of course. I don't know about you, but if one came out, I don't know how to be able to sleep past that, but it's got to get eliminated because it's wreaking havoc in your system. Amy,
that's right.
How do we learn more about the cleanses, the products? Do you have these products on your website or a link to them?
Yes, they're right on the website. You can go there. I've got newsletters or I guess
Blogs.
Blogs, yeah, I got blogs on there, and then you can read, just search whatever topic you want, and yeah, they can find it there.
I know for me that the products are great, but before I start there, I would start with a conversation for you because I would want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So you offer a consult without charge, just
right
to begin?
Well, no, the consultation, you can set up a consultation by phone or in person. And then we just go over a thorough, and then in person, then we do the muscle testing. If
Sure.
It's, by phone, then we have a questionnaire that we go over, and then we can get the person started on the right track.
And that's a more advanced level. I was even just referring to, I want to do the liver cleanse. What do I buy? You could direct them that way.
They can just call, and ask questions. Sure. We'll help them out.
Excellent. All right. What's your website?
Herbs, the number 4, YOU.org.
Excellent. Wow. Learned a lot today, put a lot of myths to rest, and validated some other stuff. So I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I always enjoy visiting with you.
Same here.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.